Obama Justice Department has made it clear to this program that they were not happy with our coverage on Monday of the Harper's Magazine revelations that 4 guards at Guantanamo Bay are challenging the official account of how 3 detainees died there in 2006. The DOJ spokesperson called our report, quote, sloppy and lopsided. But today it is the DOJ that 2 international watchdogs, including Amnesty International, want answers from. At issue, how 3 men died almost simultaneously in non-adjacent cells at Gitmo, all of them, Navy investigators concluding, eluding detection by both surveillance camera and physical inspection every 10 minutes in order to fashion fake mannequins in their beds, block the cameras, tie nooses atop their wire mesh walls, stuff rags down their own throats, in some cases put masks on, tie their own hands and even feet together, then climb up on their sinks, get the nooses on, and somehow tighten them before jumping to their deaths. Yasser al-Zahrani having just written home to say he expected to get out soon. Army Sergeant Joe Hickman told the DOJ he was in Tower 1 at the camp with another guard at Tower 4, and neither saw any bodies brought from the camp to the clinic at the time of the deaths. Instead, as Hickman revealed to Harper's Magazine, he saw Navy officers take 3 prisoners from the camp to a secret site known as Camp No, a suspected interrogation compound, and then transport something from Camp No to the clinic, implying the prisoners died not of hanging in their cells at Camp 1, but of torture at Camp No. The DOJ saying, quote, the Justice Department took this matter very seriously. A number of experienced department attorneys and agents extensively and reviewed the allegations and found no evidence of wrongdoing. The Justice Department declining to say which attorneys and agents found no evidence of wrongdoing. Today, the editorial board of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch writes, quote, enough is enough. Prisoner abuse and botched investigations undermine national security. Mr. Obama should appoint an unrelenting career prosecutor to the case to dig deeper. With us tonight is Professor Mark Denbeaux, Director of the Center for Policy and Research at Seton Hall University School of Law. His team was that which first called the NCIS report into question. His son now represents Sergeant Hickman. Professor Denbeaux, good evening.
Good evening.
The Obama Justice Department says this is not a cover-up, even though we have no idea how the men died, even though we have no idea who found the bodies, even though we have no idea who at Justice determined it's not a cover-up. So this is case closed, right?
Well, it's case closed if they had determined what the solution to the case was. No one knows how they died, where they died, or under what circumstances. So it's hard to close that case.
And yet they seem to be prepared to do so. Do you have a theory as to why they are?
Well, the only theory that I've been able to come up with is that there's some reason why they don't wish to investigate this matter thoroughly. And after all, you do have the gory situation of 3 people gagging themselves to death. So much so that in some cases the medics had to pry their jaws open with metal implements, breaking teeth in order to pull out the rags. The Army's own autopsies found they've been dead for hours at the time they were discovered. And you can't have that be the case if the guards have been doing what they're supposed to do, which is walking up and down the rows, 7 guards guarding 24 people, 1 at least walking the floors constantly, often 2, while, as you said, under a video. And we ought to add the fact that perhaps, as with Sherlock Holmes, the dog that didn't bark, not a single one of the guards was charged with any dereliction of duty, even though in their watch 3 people died, and under the responsibility to prevent it.
Did the Justice Department, in your assessment, conduct a full investigation of Joe Hickman's story?
Well, we went to the Justice Department on February 2nd. We also went to Congress. They asked us, we told them the story, and they asked us why we had gone to Congress as well as to them. We told them no one owned this story, we just wanted to get the truth out. Within 4 days, they had sent 4 senior officials, FBI and DOJ, to Seton Hall Law School to interview and determine what the facts were. For that week, there was a great deal of effort. Nothing happened that we knew of until late April when I was asked for the names of the corroborative witnesses, all of whom are military intelligence experts, gave them to them again. In June, they interviewed 1 person briefly, and as a military intelligence interrogator, he was not impressed. Nothing happened thereafter. They played telephone tag with 1 person in August, never spoke to him. And then, in late October, I received a call for asking me why it was that we were going to Congress, complaining about it, and why we were going to the press. And I said, well, you've done nothing. And they said, well, there really was nothing going on, nothing to find. I pointed out that they had never once spoken to 3 of the 4 witnesses we'd given, that ABC had found more witnesses than that. And when I pointed that out, the conversation ended, and the next morning at 8:30 in the morning in South Baltimore, 4 people showed up at the house of one of the witnesses, took him to Denny's, asked him a few questions, and on Monday I got a phone call saying that they had now determined that they could not confirm the facts that we had brought to their attention. But they didn't say the investigation was closed. They refused to say whether it was closed or not. And I might add, we have many witnesses to these conversations as well as to the other events that took place, and it just stopped. So as far as we can tell, the investigation began on February 2nd. The intense investigation ended on February 6th, and we know of nothing that happened after that.
Other than a visit to a Denny's. Mark Denbeaux of Seton Hall University, whose report helped blow the lid off this story, who is the man behind the project that tracks the varying numbers of released Gitmo detainees who are supposedly back in the terrorism business and how that number changes with apparently no connection to reality. Great thanks for all of your efforts, and great thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
So